Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the Kalliope Archives, the podcast we created when the muse struck us. The show where we explore the feminine world in all its wonderful and beautiful shapes and forms. Today we're going to talk about The Substance, the movie The Substance. Let's start by making a premise. A needed premise. There is a profound difference between the act of looking and the act of observing, both in cinema and in real life. What follows is not meant as a moral lesson, nor an allegorical closure, but rather a reminder of how an active gaze can unlock new interpretive layers, shaping possible readings that extend beyond cinematic entertainment into lived experience. A passive look limits a film to mere diversion, perhaps accompanied by the usual hollow moralizing. In contrast, an attentive, interpretive gaze opens a multiplicity of symbolic doors. Coralie Fargent's The Substance almost presents itself as a commercial. In many promotional posters, the two leading actresses, Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore, strike the same pose, both dressed in classic 1980s aerobics outfits, separated only by an evocative split screen and accompanied by a question central to the film. Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Even without watching the film, it is easy to imagine that the two women are in fact the same person, two beings made of the same substance, with Elizabeth Qualley embodying the better version of Demi Moore. Everything in this film seems to have been meticulously designed, from the casting choices to the promotional campaign and posters. Two egg yolks emerging from the same shell, two women mirrored as reflection of the same self, a close-up of Demi Moore's two pupils in a single eyeball. The narration and visual representation likewise follow recurring patterns and themes, among which the motive of doubling is unquestionably preeminent. The return of Demi Moore after years of relative absence is also far from coincidental, as she perfectly embodies the trajectory of her character. Yet the symbolic constellation constructed by this film does not end there. Consider, for instance, the curious astrological connection between the two leading actresses. Both Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore are Scorpios with Pisces ascendants, archetypal waters suggesting depth, psychological penetration, and the porousness of identity. And there is more still. Demi Moore's birthday falls on November the 11th, a striking doubling of the number one, traditionally associated with passage, thresholds, and initiation. This may not be surprising, since casting often operates as a kind of hidden alchemy, aligning actors with natal charts or archetypal roles. One is reminded of what certain astrologers, for instance in the essay on TIM's symbolic communication referenced in Il Nadir, suggests about celebrities being deliberately chosen as icons attuned to numerological and zodiacal correspondences. Each other densely symbolic elements then might go unnoticed by viewers who pay closer attention to the narrative than to the film aesthetics. Let's take a look at them. Let's start by talking about chromatic semiotics. As a matter of fact, the characters are tethered to color in highly different codified ways. The egg, universally regarded as a symbol associated with the feminine, contains within its yolk, protected by the shell, the very concept of origin and transformative potential. In the film The Substance, this archetype is evoked in the opening sequence, a yolk into which a mysterious substance is being injected. The image is not limited to an aesthetic value, rather it serves as a statement of intent. The egg becomes an emblem of birth, regeneration, and the possibility of a new identity made tangible by the transformation triggered by the substance. In the myth of Eurynome, the goddess of the Pelasgian tradition, there is a strong thematic and symbolic analogy with the dynamics of the film and with Sue. Eurynome is born naked from the primordial chaos and, dancing upon the waters, separates the sky from the sea. During her dance, she grasps the north wind, which, wrapped between her hands, transforms into the cosmic serpent. Ophion. The union between Uranome and Ophion leads to the laying of the cosmic egg, which is called 7 times by the serpent. From that egg, the world is born. In the movie, much of these myths resonates implicitly. The dance, the number 7, which reappears as the obligatory cycle of exchange between Elizabeth and Sue every 7 days, and the nakedness of Sue as she emerges for the first time from Elizabeth's body. Sue, like Euronome, represents a new birth and generation of a perfect double, but also the division and conflict between identities. The chromatic choices in the film reinforce this symbolic interpretation. Elizabeth often wears a yellow coat, a color that recalls the yolk and thus the concept of origin, identity, and potential. The same color takes on more urban overtones, becoming a messenger of warning and caution, thus steering a constant state of alertness both in the protagonist and in the viewer. From the very beginning, Sue defines her identity by modeling herself after a lifeless object, a mannequin. She then chooses a distinctive color that will represent her throughout most of the film. So, Sue habitually dresses in shades of pink and violet, liminal colors associated with imagination, transcendence, vulnerability, and also spiritual extension. In this context, those hues are even more reminiscent of a Barbie like universe, synthetic, plastic, and perfectly artificial, drawing attention to her character's performative and manufactured femininity. Her world, in large part, is constructed chromatically of primary hues, almost as if she were inhabiting a laboratory of perception, where all combinations emerge but none are yet stable. Beyond the semiotics of color, aesthetically these colors may also signify something else in a much more intuitive way. Elizabeth, the Matrix, wears primary colors such as yellow, red, and blue. Sue, by contrast, wears secondary colors or desaturated and combined versions of the same colors that Elizabeth wears. It is also worth noting the subtly recurring presence of the red car in the film, which serves as a visual motif with significant and symbolic interpretations. I'll leave you here with a bit of a suspense. If you were intrigued by the article you were listening to, then go read the whole thing on our website meduses.com. This is it for today's episode, so consider leaving a like and a follow to stay tuned on the Kalliope Archives.